Moon Letter, Astrological Podcast.
2026, The Year Ahead, by Ben Belinsky. The headline astrological news for 2026 is that the big, slow-moving planets will be moving from earth and water signs into fire and air signs. The slow-moving planets are Jupiter, which takes 12 years to orbit the Sun, Saturn, which takes around 30 years, Uranus, which takes 84 years, Neptune, which takes 163 years, and Pluto, which takes 248 years. Astrologers use the cycles of these planets to understand social trends and define periods of growth and change in an individual's life. But before we look at the patterns for 2026, let's look at the 4 elements, in particular the movement from earth and water signs to fire and air signs. The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. In general, they tend to be practical and materialistic. They get on well with each other and with the water signs. Earth and water making happy mud puddles. They understand each other. The water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. They are the experts at understanding and processing emotion. They may not be showy or dramatic, but they know what's going on in the tides and currents of feeling. The air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Yes, Aquarius, the water carrier, is in fact an air sign. Their world is the domain of ideas and communication, agreements, disagreements, compromises, sharing and withholding, everything to do with what goes on in the mental space. While the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, are about action, intuition, and inspiration, keeping the energy of the world going. Fire and air get on. Fire needs air to burn, and air needs fire to get it moving. For the last few years, the stress has been on the earth and water signs. Jupiter has been boosting and energizing the sign of Cancer and sending the opposite sign of Capricorn a bit over the top in terms of business hubris. Saturn and Neptune have been playing image games in Pisces, while at the same time asking Pisces to see through the illusions. Virgo, the opposite sign to Pisces, has been busy separating the wheat from the chaff. Saturn comes across as a responsibility that we ignore at our peril, like an overdue bill. Uranus has been travelling through Taurus for the last 7 years, disrupting that otherwise placid sign. Uranus' social impact is on technology and technological developments, and in Taurus it has led to the development of new materials, and also to the financial dominance of the tech bros and their global empires. While Pluto, recently moved from the business sign of Capricorn into the social club run by Aquarius, is asking us to take a long, hard look at what it means to be human. And now that's all going to change. It's time for the fire and air signs to take the lead, while the earth and water signs check where they are, count their change, and assess the damage. January sees Neptune leaving its own sign of Pisces, where it's been since 2012. While Neptune, at its highest vibration, is about dissolving boundaries and achieving spiritual connection, most of the time it appears as image, the images we project and the images that control us. We've seen this in the politics of many countries. It's all about the optics, the photo opportunities, controlling the narrative. Neptune in Aries won't wipe that slate clean. Aries is the sign of the warrior and the pioneer. With Neptune in Aries, what is needed is the sensitivity of the master swordsman, the spirituality of the warrior monk, the focus of the martial arts sensei, the one who has been born before and can show others the way. Meanwhile, the Neptune in Libra generation, born 1943 to 1956, otherwise known as the Peace and Love generation, for that is Libra at its most idealistic, could be feeling the pain of betrayed ideals and the need to rebalance their attitudes. They are in their 70s and older now, but the truth of their vision still has a place in the world. Neptune will be in Aries until 2028. Then in February things start to accelerate. Saturn moves into Aries on the 14th. This is followed by the new moon solar eclipse on the 17th, marking the beginning of the Chinese New Year, the year of the fire horse. Then on the 20th of February, we get the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in the first degree of Aries. Saturn leaving Pisces and entering Aries means the end of the Saturn return for those born between February 1994 and April 1996, and those who were born between April 1964 and February 1967 who have been going through their second Saturn return. Please remember that all of these dates are approximate. Saturn in Pisces asks us to accept the burden of compassion, while also knowing the limits of our compassion and learning how and when to say no. It's now the turn of those born with Saturn in Aries, April 1996 to February 1999, to go through their Saturn return. They are being asked to accept their leadership, to understand that cooperation is all well and good, but there will be times when you have to take the risk and lead rather than waiting to see what everyone else is doing before you act. The Aquarius new moon marks the beginning of the Chinese year of the fire horse. This looks like it could be a bit of a wild ride, leaving the wisdom and subtle creativity of the year of the wooden snake. The fire horse, as the name suggests, is about speed, freedom, and ambition. The last fire horse year was 1966, and those who were born in that year are turning 60, and wherever they are in their lives, they are to be reminded of their true nature. For the rest of us, the journey promises to be transformative. Regarding the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune on the 20th of February, you can read about it in another article. March begins with a total lunar eclipse on the 3rd. The sky will be dominated by a bunch of planets in Pisces, with Neptune and Saturn joining in across the cusp in early Aries. The centaur Nessus will be exactly conjunct Mercury at the time of the eclipse, a warning to watch out for scammers and con artists. I'll be saying more about this closer to the time. Then on the 11th of March, Jupiter turns direct in Cancer on the home stretch out of that sign. This opens a period of a couple of months when all the slow-moving planets will appear to be running direct. This period represents a window of opportunity for plans and projects, particularly with Jupiter and Saturn going direct, combining Jupiter's expansion with a solid base that Saturn provides. Saturn will turn retrograde at the end of July, but there's a great deal going on before that. At the end of March there's an easy angle between Saturn in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius. This positive aspect between these two heavy hitters promises responsible use and control of power and should reveal more of Pluto's long-term plans for us. On the 26th of April, Uranus moves from Taurus into Gemini. For those born with Uranus in Sagittarius between November 1981 and November 1988, this marks your half-Uranus return, what some people call the midlife crisis, but it's more helpful to think of it as a transition rather than a crisis. Sagittarius is about philosophies, ideologies, religion, and long-term goals, and the opposition from Uranus in Gemini can be an exciting time where we discover unexplored parts of ourselves. Uranus also deals with technological innovation, and in high-speed, quick-thinking Gemini, We're in for further advances over the next 7 years, particularly in the realms of communications technology. Then weeks after Uranus enters Gemini, it meets Sedna, the dwarf planet that orbits out beyond Pluto and takes around 11,400 years to orbit the Sun. Astrologers are still working out the significance of this solar system body. The last time Sedna was in the same position in the sky, the Earth was coming out of an ice age. Temperatures were rising, ice was melting, there were floods and massive sea level rises. These are the things we can be sure of. More speculatively, it could have been the time of the Great Flood, as mentioned not only in the Bible, but in the legends of many other cultures. And was this the time when Atlantis fell beneath the waves? As I say, this is speculation, relating to a different probable past, but my feeling is that issues of species survival could come to the fore around this time. 30th of June. Jupiter leaves Cancer and moves on into the fire sign of Leo until July 2027. Jupiter takes around 12 years to orbit the Sun, and so it is in each zodiac sign for about 1 year. The last time it was in Leo was July 2014 to July 2015. The planet of expansion and grandeur in the sign of luxury and pleasure. Also, we now have all the slow-moving planets in air and fire signs, and the energy is buoyant and uplifting. I get the image of a hot air balloon cruising the summer sky. And then in July, all the slow-moving planets align exactly over a period of 10 days, forming what is known as a cradle structure, all except Saturn. Here's the schedule. 15th of July, Uranus sextile Neptune. 18th of July, Uranus trine Pluto. 20th of July, Jupiter trine Neptune. 20th of July, Jupiter opposite Pluto. 21st of July, Jupiter sextile Uranus. 25th of July, Neptune sextile Pluto. The best way to understand a complex pattern like this is to read it from the closest planet to Earth, which in this case is Jupiter. Energetically, Jupiter acts as an amplifier and a stimulus to growth. When it's in Leo, the effect is to aggrandize. Looking at it from the other side, Jupiter will be picking up influences from Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. With Uranus influence, Jupiter acts with a joyful spontaneity. From Neptune, it gets a freedom of inspiration and spiritual openness. And from Pluto, it gets the sheer pleasure of exercising power and control. In Greek mythology, Jupiter, as Zeus, and Pluto were brothers. Jupiter was the king of the sky, while Pluto was the lord of the underworld. When they work together, they are unbeatable. Nothing can balance or moderate their influence. Here we're dealing with Jupiter in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius. From a political point of view, Jupiter in Leo is the benevolent ruler, the good king, while Pluto in Aquarius is the power of the people. And just to mention that all this coincides with the 250th anniversary celebrations for the independence of the USA and the Football World Cup. High energy and unpredictable would be a way of describing the energy of July, and it's not until the end of August that Saturn comes into the picture and we get a mitigating aspect between Jupiter and Saturn that stabilizes things. Meanwhile, there are a couple of eclipses. A solar eclipse in Leo on the 12th of August. The chart for the eclipse shows the element of Earth is missing, which suggests that whatever is going on energetically, practical matters will need our attention. Then on the 28th of August, at the lunar eclipse, with the Sun in Virgo and the Moon in Pisces, there should be a shift, as Virgo's earthy practicality and Pisces' sensitivity offer a way out of the energetic gridlock. The tight pattern of aspects we saw in July breaks up quite quickly as Jupiter moves on in Leo. Of the other aspects, the angle between Neptune and Pluto continues and feels like having more of a generational effect. But the angle between Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius continues, with Uranus turning retrograde in September and Pluto turning direct in October before they make another exact aspect in November. Just to recall that Pluto deals with what is hidden and buried and brings it to the surface where it can be dealt with, while Uranus breaks up old patterns. We saw this in the Cultural Revolution of the late 1960s, when Uranus and Pluto were conjunct in Virgo. That period gave birth to so many progressive movements: women's liberation, gay liberation, the Green Movement, and the increasing acceptance of Eastern religious and mystical practices in the West, not to forget the incredible music. Then in the period from 2012 to 2015, Uranus and Pluto made a series of 7 squares, the 90-degree angle that is tense and challenging and was experienced in the business world as a time of massive disruption. The softer trine aspect of 120 degrees between these two slow-moving planets is due to take place 5 times from July 2026 to May 2028. As they are in air signs, Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, we would expect radical changes, not only in technology, but in how we see and understand the world. If you want to know more about how these changes could affect you personally, please contact me on moonletter.co.uk.
And for more astrological and spiritual musings, check out moonletter.co.uk.